Well, hello everybody. Are you having fun? Good. Right, well, how did the social model change my life? I suppose, before I start, I should explain what I mean by the social model. Well, when you say models, you kind of think of people on catwalks, people in glossy magazines. Not that kind of model, no. What these are methods that clever people, sociologists, psychologists, people with an ology, use to describe what it means to be somebody. You can have models of childhood, models of aging, and of course, models of disability. You see, I was born disabled many years ago. So long ago that when I was thinking of doing slides for this talk, I realised that my photographs of me as a child were all in black and white up until I hit the age of 7, when colour photography finally became affordable, and then they're in that really weird kind of washed out 70s colour. So, and being disabled from birth, it meant I had a very strange relationship with the word disabled, because I didn't really like it. I didn't think it described what I was. I went to a mainstream school, and all my mates weren't disabled, but we all did stuff together. I wasn't different. We just all did stuff together. I was really rubbish at PE, but I was good at other things. I was good at music and singing. I was in the choir. In fact, I was the kid that they'd wheeled out every now and again to sing lead in the choir, because everybody thought, oh, how sweet, the little disabled kid's singing. And so we'd win lots of awards. But it meant that as I grew up, I kind of thought, I don't want to be disabled. I don't like the word. That's not how I feel about myself. And so I'd try hard to not be disabled. And when I was 15, my spine collapsed and I became a wheelchair user. So before that I could walk, but I walked with a limp. And suddenly I became more disabled, apparently, everyone told me. I could do less because I couldn't walk. And I felt that pressure. It made me feel like I was less of a person. Until I started getting well enough to do things again. I started playing music. And then I formed a band. And then that band did gigs. And no one came up and said, hey, you're disabled. That makes your music different. I then got spotted by a TV company, got a job as a TV presenter. No one came up and said, hey, you're disabled. That makes what you do different. And then also I had girls. I can't say how many because my wife's sitting there, but I had a few girlfriends. And none of them said, hey, you're disabled. That makes you different. But yet society told me, oh no, you're different, you're broken, there's something wrong with you. And that's not how I felt. Instead of trying to find a new way of thinking, I just went, I'm not disabled, la 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 la, and just acted like it wasn't me. And I'd meet other disabled people and I'd go, I don't have anything in common with you. I'm on wheels, you can't see, you can't hear. And then, one day, the day came when the social model changed my life. I was at an event a bit like this, and there were lots of disabled people there, and we were all talking about politics and changing the world, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. I kind of get what they're saying, but I don't know why I'm part of the crowd. I don't feel like part of the crowd. And I got in a lift to leave, and a wonderful woman called Vicky Waddington got into the lift with me, and trapped me in the lift. She parked her power wheelchair in front of the door, and she wouldn't let me out. And so we rode up and down, up and down, with the doors opening and all these people going, oh, sorry, while she lectured me on why I needed to change the way I was thinking about what it meant to be disabled. You see, up until then, I felt I was disabled because I was broken. There was something wrong with me. And that's what everyone told me. Your legs don't work, you're disabled. That person's blind, their eyes don't work. That's what makes them disabled. And Vicky went, that's all wrong. That's not what's true. Because you are a great musician. I've got friends that are great artists, dancers, and they're all disabled. But what is it that makes them disabled? said, because bits of them don't work? No. What makes them disabled is the fact that we live in a society that isn't shaped to allow them to fulfill their potential. And I thought, yeah, kind of makes sense. Because when I'm in a band, like today, I've wheeled up a ramp. Yet, there were many times when I'd do performances in events like this where I'd have to crawl upstairs, or get carried upstairs, or be told I couldn't perform because that was against health and safety rules to allow me to get on the stage. But yet I could sing and play. So it wasn't that I was disabled that was stopping me, it was the fact that the stage wasn't adapted. Why shouldn't I be allowed to do it? And Vicky said, right, that way of thinking is called the social model. And what the social model says is, I'm not disabled by the fact that my legs don't work. I'm disabled by the fact that the world isn't built to allow me to do what I want. And a perfect way of describing that is this ramp. This ramp has allowed me to wheel up here and bore you all for 15 minutes, whereas without it, and I'm sure you wished it wasn't there, I would be trapped, unable to do it. And it's more than that, because what it also says is we can change society. We can say, well, if society isn't accessible for disabled people now, if we all work to make it accessible, then people can all get the chance to prove what they can do. We can all have the chance to shine and to show that while we are disabled, we all have skills and abilities. It also says that we, as disabled people, should be involved. It shouldn't be people doing stuff for us. And I bet anyone here that's been disabled from birth, they know what that's like. They know what it feels like to have things done for you. And you're like, but I can do it myself, thanks. But you have it done for you because people think, oh, well, I'm helping you, I'm caring for you. And they don't even ask you what you want. That's how the medical model works. Why is it called the medical model? Because it's used by doctors. And we all know what they're like. They all want to get in there and tinker and fix you. And if they can't fix you, they're kind of, oh, I don't know what to do with him, really. Whereas the social model says, yeah, one day maybe they might find a way of fixing things, but we don't care. Because we're happy the way we are. And we're great the way we are. And we're part of what society says is normal. We should be normal like everybody else. We should reclaim that word normal and make it ours. And then what it says, and this is the best thing about it and what changed my life, is up until this point, I'd felt guilty about being disabled because all I ever heard growing up was, oh, your poor mum had to look after you. Oh, your poor mum and dad had to move house so that they could live somewhere that was accessible. You don't know how much trouble it was to find you a school place. My dad died when I was 5 of a heart attack. All I heard was, oh, it was the stress of having you that killed him. That's nice, isn't it? And that's what the medical model says. It's our fault that we're disabled. The social model says no, because being disabled is just part of life. So when we're not allowed to do something, it's not our fault, it's everybody else's. And that is the key element of the social model that I love. I love the fact that it's no longer my fault that I can't get into a pub or a club, or I'm not allowed on the bus because there's a pushchair in the way, or it's a bit awkward to do stuff, because it's everybody else's fault. And that allows me to stop feeling guilty and start feeling angry. And you know what John Lydon said? Anger is an energy. And the great thing about that energy is that you can then use it to change things. And better than that, once you realise that we're all okay, it doesn't matter what your impairment is, the word the social model uses to describe what the medical model calls disability, because we're all brothers and sisters under impairment. It doesn't matter if one person is blind, one person is deaf, one person can't walk, one person has a learning disability. We all are equal, and we all are fighting to get a better society for all of us. So we can fight together. It might mean that I'm fighting for someone to get better access because they want BSL to be used. Ta-da! Right? It doesn't benefit me, but it benefits everybody because it makes the world more inclusive. And the great thing about inclusion is that at the end of the day, it helps everybody. I always say to us, I do a lot of this stuff for business, you know, got to make money somehow. And I say to them, You think about access and inclusion for disabled people, but think of all the older people that are coming up that great big market. They are all going to get older, and as they get older, you lose a bit unsteady on your pins, can't hear as well, can't see as well, lose your memory a bit. In an inclusive world that's built for young disabled people, you get old and you don't even notice. Everything's just fine. And a world that's accessible for me on wheels is also accessible for pushchairs, people with luggage, people with kids, people that are a bit tired, girls on stilettos, and the list goes on. Men on stilettos. That's it. And the great thing is that what it allows us to do is prove our worth. We have the ability to shine like we never had before. And the social model is being adopted more and more and more by society, and it's why events like Parallel exist, to allow disabled people to be part of the community and shine as they can. It's done me amazingly, it's changed my life. It basically gave me the ability to know that I can campaign to make the world better. And I hope that everybody adopts a social model. There are some issues, but I think they're much better than the medical model that when you're broke, can't Shazam you, forget it. So that was my talk. It kind of tails off towards the end because everything I do even, edit that bit out, everything I do does this, I kind of la 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 la, but that's one of my impairments. I can never finish on a crescendo. And so, I thank you.
Let's give a massive round of applause for Mik, and we're going to go straight to any questions that we have from the audience. There's one, I'll come round to you.
You got one down there. I won't rule down there, because...
Would you say from an artistic perspective that the social model is still in need of more implementation, or would you say that it's fairly well integrated into the artistic scene?
I think that a lot of people from different impairment groups have issues with it at the moment, but I think that actually it's one of those models that actually works for everybody. What it is we need to work together to implement it for those groups. Because a lot of groups, like myself, wheelchair users, hey, we've been shouting and jumping up and down for years. But people like the autistic community are now gaining their voice. And we as other disabled people need to support them in getting their voice, getting their needs and their wants heard, and making sure that they're involved in the discussion as we move forward. But I really think that the social model will work for all impairment groups. I don't think that there's this, that a lot of people that think, oh, it doesn't work for me. It does. It's just that we have to tweak it and adapt it to make sure that everybody is empowered so that we can all move together. And the more of us there are, the great thing about it is the more we all get together and the more we work together, the more we become a voice that cannot be ignored. Disabled people make up 20% of the population, right? That's a lot of people, right? So we need to start making it so that all the parties and the governments and everyone that runs everything understands you ignore us at your own cost, because we are powerful and we want change. And that's the great thing about the social model. It says change, not me, you. I'm great, you're great. Everybody here that's disabled is great. It's everybody else that's wrong.
And do you think that's being reflected more in our society and our culture, perhaps in our TV or in our music?
I think that more and more, some sections of society are adopting the social model. I think the majority of the non-disabled world don't get it yet, because they still kind of go, but you're disabled by what bits don't work? You can't walk, that's what disables you. And it's not true. But I think the main reason why that isn't happening is because I think most non-disabled people are terrified of being disabled, because they don't realise it's not that bad, right? We live in a world at the moment where we're having to justify ourselves every time. And to get any help, we have to tell everyone how awful our lives are. And actually, that's really unfair, because people like me spent decades going, it's great, I love it. And then everyone had to go, oh, in that case, you don't need any help. And it's like, no, I need the help. I just like it. It's not one or the other. So what we need to do is make people understand that that assistance isn't a special gift. It's not a benefit. right? It's actually what we need to prove that we can be useful to society. Because one of the things that I think, especially for people that are autistic, is that people don't realise how bloody great you are, how useful you are to society. The reason why we read, right, is because we developed autistic traits. The reason why we count and did maths and store stuff and worked out ways of dealing with money and language all came from you guys, right? Before that, we didn't have it. We need the autistic traits to do that. So we need to celebrate that and say, these guys are why we're not still swinging from trees, right? So, and that, I think it's really important to remember that. And so I think it's a great tool. I loved it. And like I said, the thing that gave me the joy of it was the fact that it taught me that being angry is all right. Because it's not, instead of going, I don't like me, it's like, I don't like you lot. And the great thing about that is you can change them lot, but you can't undisable yourself. I can't suddenly do magic and my legs will suddenly grow back. You can't suddenly not be autistic. It's not the way it is. But we can say, we can change the world so that we're part of it. Stop sticking us on the outside. We demand to be on the inside, and we demand things to be better. And as I said, it works for them too. Because always remember, the non-disabled community are really the not disabled yet community. Because it can happen to them like that.
Any other questions from the audience before we do a quick
What do you
Q&A?
think?
We'll jump onto the stage. So just to talk again about the stumbling blocks that you face in terms of access, what are the places that still need change? What can someone who's sitting at home maybe watching this, what can they do to help the cause?
I think everywhere in the country, in fact everywhere in the world, especially Brussels, but we won't talk about that, especially all over the world, there are places that need to be improved. And what we need to do is make the people that make the decisions and the people that have the power, make them understand that it's not an expensive thing, it's not a difficult thing, it's not making the world a kind of a lesser place. A lot of places, I do a lot of work around trying to get buildings more accessible, and one of the things you hear is, oh, but it's historic. You know, these are historic cobbles. Hey, everyone in a wheelchair, hands up who loves cobbles? And the answer is nobody. And yet there are ways of making these historic elements accessible. So what I'd say to everybody that's watching is join with us. The social model isn't about disabled people doing it for ourselves. It's about everyone coming together and becoming one voice for change and saying that tomorrow has to be better than today and that we can constructively build a world that works for everybody. It's not just, like I said, for wheelchairs, it's for everyone. And also, inclusive design that works for wheelchair users or for anyone with an impairment, looks lovely. It's much nicer than a horrible old flight of stairs. You know, stairs are last century, man. You've got to start thinking outside the box. You've got to think Star Trek, right? Not, you know, some old historic thing that I can't remember because I don't watch much historic television, so. Downton Abbey, that'll do. Yeah, not that, not Downton Abbey, oh God, no.
So in terms of like, if there's our children in the audience or anyone at home that's disabled and they've been it from birth,
Yeah.
How do you go about developing the confidence you have, or to look at the world and think, you know what, it's not their problem, it's not my problem, it's for them to adapt to me?
Well, I think it's actually happening. I meet quite a lot of young people, don't I, Emily? Hello, Emily. And I see a change in the youth, the disabled youth that I meet, that they've kind of been brought up in a world that says they should have the chance, but they're not always being given the chance. And because they've been told they should have the chance from very early on, they kind of see it's unfair. And I think that that's one of the things that drives all of us old duffers on, is that we've fought our way through all that. We've had to have that moment where we realise that it's not fair and that we can change things. And for the young people, we should be doing it for them. I mean, like my tube station in Camden, where I live, may be made wheelchair accessible by 2025. Now, I'm not going to say how old I'll be then, but it's old. And so I really won't care. I won't be going clubbing anymore. I mean, I've stopped clubbing quite a while. I'm going clubbing next weekend. Yeah, still got it. But it should, you know, so it doesn't benefit me as much. But it should be that, you know, when young people get old enough, they should be able to go to nightclubs, they should be able to go everything, they should do whatever they want. And more than that, it's not just about doing stuff. It's about being able to be active and contribute and show that their talents, whether they sing or dance or play sport or paint or are very clever or good with maths, they should be able to do that, prove their skills. And that's what the social model says, that we all should have the right to be included in making the world what it can be. And there you go, that's woo, bit of feedback. Yeah, man.
So just finally, just one phrase or word or quote that embodies why you think people should embrace the social model and the benefits it can have.
The social model works for you because if you're disabled, it's great. And if you're not disabled, you might be disabled one day and then it's great. And in the meantime, it means that we can all join in together. And that's it, really.
That was great. Let's give a big round of applause for Mik Scarlet, everyone. Once again, if you are at home, you want to share, engage, use the hashtag #StoriesForAll. We'd love to know your thoughts, and please keep sharing this so other people can gain that knowledge and we can work together for a better future.